I'm not gonna sleep, I'm not ever gonna fucking sleep. 'Cause I've been therapy, so I'll have bad fucking dreams. 'Cause it's all in the forefront of my mind, 'cause I've been talking about it. And I'll go to sleep and I'll have bad dreams, and I'll wake up in the night all sweaty and shit, and I'll gasp and I'll jump awake and go, oh, he's in my room, he's gonna get me, he's gonna hurt me. I've got bugs under my skin, it itches, it itches, it itches, it itches, I feel horrible. Oh my god, I'm gonna die, I'm sweating and it itches, I've got bugs in my skin, I've got bugs in my skin, I've got bugs in my... Fuck. So I'm never going to sleep again. Or I will eventually, but not right now. So I'm up at 2:30 a.m. Whoa, waddle-dee-doo, skiddle-dee-dee. Piss in my mouth, I'll pay you please. Do-do-do, do, do-do-do. Where's that tune from? Maybe some game show or some old kids show or something. Probably some ad or something, some shit like that. Some cursed commercial I'd rather not have in my fucking brain. Yeah, so I've been to some... I've been trying for a while. I've been on the waiting list to go to this trauma care place. You know, after the other therapist I was seeing said, you've got PTSD, Ewan, that's the issue. And I was taken aback. It's one of those things that, like, I'm aware PTSD isn't just, you know, soldiers in war and nobody else gets PTSD. You know, PTSD can be very mild, it can be very serious. But it was just never one of those things I even thought that, like, I would deal with. It's like, well, you know, I haven't been through that bad sort of things. And then after talking about the bad sort of things that I've maybe been through, the therapist was like, yeah, so when you're dealing with the PTSD that you've got, and I was like, whoa, with the what? Yeah, the PTSD that you're clearly dealing with. And he said that, and I was like, oh, shit, yeah, no, that makes sense. That makes a fucking sense. So I've been on the wait list for this sort of specialised place to get care for trauma, in help dealing with it and, like, recontextualising it in your brain. It's eye movement decentralisation and reconfigure or some shit, I don't know. Yeah, and so I saw them today for like a first like talky talk session, just to see where we're at and where we can go from where we are at. And yeah, it was good enough. But as usually happens, as happened previously with therapy that I was doing before, the issue, of course, is that in talking about, you know, those things that happened in the past, it puts it right at the forefront of your mind, and so the thoughts are there, and the sort of, you know, PTSD, physical and emotional reactions to those thoughts and feelings are more likely to come up. So I don't want to go to sleep. Ooh. It's best in these instances, I find it best to, like, just stay up as long as possible until I physically can't stay up anymore, and then I just collapse and fall asleep, and that's better, because otherwise I'm worrying. I might not even fall asleep because I'm just in bed worrying about all these thoughts, and then even if I do get to sleep, it's, you know, I'll awaken abruptly all of a sudden because of bad dreams, because I'm a child. I'm 33 and I'm still dealing with this shit. Well, I'm 33, but it's only recently that I've really even thought that, like, about these things that are the cause of you know, certain thoughts and feelings and ways I've been acting and such, or ways I've not been acting, ways I've been inactive about certain things. Ooh, excuse me. So anyway, it's currently about 2:30 on Thursday morning, and it's Thursday, it's podcast day. So I thought, fucking, I'll record my podcast now. Fuck it. So it might end up being a 6-hour podcast while I try and stay awake. And then about 8 or 9, I'll go out and go to the post office, do some shit. Maybe pick up my book that I'm still waiting to get back from the printers. Better fucking be here today. I wanted a banana. I was in the supermarket the other day and I walked past the fruit and veg aisle, as, you know, sort of they put it at the front, don't they? They put all the fresh shit at the front so you buy it sooner because it's fresh. And I walked past the bananas, and usually I walk past the bananas all the time. I don't give a shit. But this particular day, I walked past the bananas and I thought, oh, do you know what? I fancy a banana. I'll have a fucking banana. So I grabbed a few, and they were all the bananas there were pretty green bananas. But I figured, cool, you know, I'll let them ripen a bit more, and then I'll have myself a banana. So I bought some, took them home, sat them on the side of my kitchen, the side in my kitchen, not the side of my kitchen. And then they sat for a day or so, getting ripe. And then a day or so later, they were a nice yellow, not too yellow, verging into brown area, but, you know, not so green that I was worried they'd taste. Because I know you can eat them when they're green, but they taste fucking wank. Green bananas taste, they almost taste less. Almost tasteless, like me, you know, because I'm in bad taste in general. So they ripened, and it was an appropriate time to eat them. But now I don't want a banana. I'm not in the mood for a banana now. I wanted a banana when I wanted a banana. And now it's a couple of days later, and I don't really want a banana. I'm not in the mood for a banana now. And then by the time I am in the mood for a banana again, they're gone mouldy. So, I mean, I will eat them. I'll eat them because they are there. I'll eat them out of obligation. Soon enough, you know. Maybe I'll have one after the podcast. Maybe I'll have one during the podcast. Fuck it. Let's go crazy. Let's go bananas. And have a banana during my bananas cast. That's what I'll title. I'll title it Banana Cast. Because I am eating a banana, and that's that. Oh, won't that be exciting and exhilarating? I had a peanut butter jam sandwich just before I started recording this. And I got to thinking, did I do an episode wherein which I made and ate a peanut butter and jam sandwich? Because I'm 99% sure I did that. But there's a faint hint of a chance that I'm making it up, that I imagined it. Because I've done over 150 of these fucking podcasts, if you can call them such. And there's been so many ideas that I've thought, like, oh, wait, that's a good thought. I'll put that in the podcast. Or, you know, those sorts of things. And then probably most of them, I was going to say half, probably more than half of them, never make it to the podcast because I just forget, or I think of something else, or it's just not. I think about it a bit more and realise it's a shit idea. A lot of them I do those anyway, even if it's shit ideas, which is evident because, you know, you see them in the podcast. But then this sandwich one, I was making the sandwich thinking, I swear I'm getting like deja vu about podcast and sandwich. And I'm pretty sure I did the episode. No, it wasn't about making the sandwich, but there just happened to be. I fancied a sandwich, so I made a sandwich. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But it's like my own personal Mandela effect, the Manduan effect. That I might have not done that. I don't know. Not that it matters either way. It's just is what it is, isn't it? It's just a thought. Just a thought. I need to note the time. About 10 minutes. Just under 10 minutes. Because I'm going to put a picture here. Blah! Of this sculpture I'm drawing by what's his name? By Anthony Watkins. Anthony _ Watkins _ AW _ sculpture. Aw, it's Anthony Watkins. Aw, sculpture. He's cute. Aw. Oh, I guess the AW is Anthony Watkins. AW Sculpture. Very, very good. Came across it on Instagram. He sculpted like a sort of goblin face. And I liked it, and so I'm drawing it. I do quite a lot of those. I like drawing sculptures. Because they've often got good lighting and such, so they're good things to use for sort of drawing practice or studies and shit. Especially when they're fucking goblins. I've got quite a few screenshots of those currently. Not goblins specifically, but sculptures. There's some gorilla. A guy sculpted a really cool, like, big silverback gorilla, and he put it on a. Do they call it a lazy Susan? The turning things. And so I got like a few shots of different angles. So those would be some quite cool things to draw. And we like apes and gorillas and things, so that'll be a good one. That'll be a good one. And I love sculpture. I love sculpting. Like, I've tried my hand at a very, very small amount of sculpting, and I'm not going to say I'm great at it, but fairly good, all things considered. All things considered being that all things are I draw. That's drawing it and painting, but mostly drawing is what I do. So considering that, I'm relatively okay at sculpting. The only issue is I find it so laborious. I find it because it's not the thing I do, whereas drawing comes so naturally to me. I can knock drawings out easy, nice and quick. But because I'm not accustomed to sculpting, it takes me a lot longer to do because it doesn't come as naturally to me. But I think if I gave it the time and effort that it maybe deserved, then I could be a damn good sculptor, I think. But ultimately, I just can't be fucked, especially these days, because I've been. I put a little thing on my Instagram apologising for having, I've not been sending out commissions that I've done. I've not been replying to messages and things, and there's a lot of things I should have been doing that I haven't been doing, and that's just because I've been horrifically depressed. I don't want to say I'm going to kill myself, but I might kill myself. No, I won't. Don't worry. I'm just not doing great. And luckily, I'm getting towards getting help for trauma and things, which has affected me a lot more than I thought it would. But when you're a person that you're supposed to put sort of like trust and faith in when you're very, very young, less than 10 years old, is crossing the road with you to school and says, "Go now," and then you get hit by a car and you wake up, you hear, "Quick, go now," and then you wake up on the ground having been hit by a car. At the time, you think, "Oh, that was a bit weird. I got hit by a car." And then you think back and you realise, "Oh, no, that did a lot more to me than just a couple of bumps and bruises and headaches for a few weeks. That did some emotional damage too." Wow. And you only realise years and years later, after, you hear a certain person's name mentioned, and suddenly you can't check your mail for months and months at a time, and it all piles up in bags in your kitchen, unopened, until you can bring yourself to just take it out in the garden and burn it in a metal bucket that you bought specifically for that purpose, because you're never going to get around to opening any of that mail. There might be some really important mail in there that you need to fucking pay attention to, but ultimately it's not going to happen because it's just not in you. And not to blame everything on that incident, because there are many incidents, some worse, some less worse. Hey, this isn't about that. We're not even talking about that. Do you ever wish, like me, that you were like me? Oh, everyone wants to be you. And do you ever wish that you could just get taken away, taken away and locked up like in Old Boy? Have you seen Old Boy? It's fucking good. I was going to say one of the best films. It's It's a really fucking good film. And then Americans remade it, and it was shit. The remake, that is, the original. Fucking fantastic film. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So the guy gets locked up for like 15, 16 years or something. I won't go into it because that's the film. But yeah, this guy just basically gets taken off the street. There's reason behind it that you find out later, but in essence, he gets lifted up off the street out of nowhere, and he wakes up in a room, and then he's in that room for 15 years, and he's like fed and stuff and whatever. But I watched it fairly recently, and oh my god, does that not just seem like fucking bliss? Like, that's all. No more responsibilities. You don't have to worry about checking your fucking mail anymore. He was fed. He had a TV in there. You know, he had a shower and stuff. Which, I don't really care about showering, so that's not too much of an issue. But I think he had like paper and pens and stuff. Did he? Was he making notes? I don't know. But basically, if I had that life, I'd be so happy. Because that'd be like being in prison, but like without the general population side of it, which is like, when I think about being in prison, the only real sort of downside is being with all those other prisoners, some of whom might decide they don't like you and will fuck with you. That's like the biggest downside for me for the idea of going to prison. The rest of it sounds pretty fucking sweet. Give me a fucking notebook and some pens and all day, all the time in the world to just sit and draw, and I'm fucking golden. Don't have to worry about paying rent and doing this, doing that. And in prison, I've heard of other artists spending time in prison and having an okay time of it. I'm sure it's only certain instances. I'm sure there's lots of people who have bad times. But artists get on pretty well because they can design tattoos, they can do portraits of people, funny portraits of inmates, they can do portraits of like inmates' family and stuff and to put up. They can draw porn for people, which, could be good if you don't mind drawing porn. They could draw people, inmates' favourite cartoon characters fucking each other. So artists can be fucking valuable in prison. So I figure I'd probably be all right if I went to prison. If I missed some really important, like, tax-related mail, and then they come to lock me up one day, which is a genuine fear I have currently that will happen. Hey, why don't you check your mail, Ewan? Oh, because I'm scared. There you go. I'm a big fucking scaredy cat. That's why I'm trying to get help, yeah? But then the whole old boy thing, it's like, it's that, but then without all the other prisoners, like, they put you in solitary confinement as to be like punishment. Like, if you're bad in prison, they go, right, stick them in solitary confinement. My God. I know it's easy to say, like, oh, I'd be fine with that. I don't even mind. And a lot of people say that. And then a lot of people would say, oh, yeah, you don't know until you're there, though. Once you're there on your own, for days and days and days, just you and no one else in a cell on your own for days and days and days. Honestly, I'm basically living like that anyway. Last time I watched Oldboy, I was watching it with someone. And I think we were in my small apartment, my one-room apartment, and we were saying, like, oh, imagine being locked up like that, like, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like looking around, gesturing to the person I was with, being like, I mean, that's basically my life. Like, there's not too much different. I eat pretty much the same thing most days, like in the film, and I'm good, man. Just give me that life and I'm good. Book. I know I've shown this before, like probably way back when, but I fancy looking at it again. I fancy looking at it again. Someone needs to sleep. I just farted and it smells. So I'm dealing with that currently. And I need a sip of my drink. I'm a professional broadcaster. I'm actually anything but that. I love this. Have you seen Tekonkincrete? This is the version that was put out after the animated film came out. The animated film is really fucking good. And it was only after I saw that. And I only saw that because it's animated by the same studio that animated the kids' story from the Animatrix, which is pretty fucking good. And yeah, the I don't, do I call it a manga or an anime? The animated feature film based upon this comic book. I saw that because of the Animatrix. Excuse the me. And I saw this because of having seen that. I'd seen this in shops because it originally was in 2 separate editions. And when I was like a little teenager, first realising that manga was, oh, hey, look, that's the... On an interview with someone involved with it. Yeah, when I first started noticing that manga was a thing, or manga, if that's how you pronounce it, for monkeys, I'd go to the manga sections in the bookshops and look around, and I'd see these on the shelves, black and white, 2 editions, and be like, oh hey, and I'd flip through them and be like, oh, these drawings look a bit amateurish, a bit like whatevs, and then put them back and then look at other shit. Manga was never something I was really into, just a cursory look at it and grab a couple of random books and have no clue what the fuck I was looking at. And so after seeing the animated film, I saw this book compendium all put together, and I was like, oh, hey, that's the thing. And similar to Hellboy, where back in the day, I'd look at Hellboy's artwork and be like, what's this basic ass blocky shit, just black and white shapes and big clunky figures and shit. Where's all the detail and the cross-hatching and the wiry arms and legs and shit? And then later on realise, oh shit, actually Hellboy's fucking genius in terms of the artwork. Similar to this, back in the day, I'd look at it and go, it looks, almost juvenile, almost non-professional, more like zine comics than proper manga comics. But then you get a bit older, you wise up a little bit, and you realise how genius it is, because it's just a guy drawing his comic in his style, and maybe I'll come across some buildings and shit. Like you see Akira, and the buildings are so fucking painstakingly drawn and rendered with all the windows and the fucking cross beams and the everything. Whereas this, in a similar way to how I like Bisley's work, it's just draw buildings, no guidelines, no fucking grids and shit to mark out perspective. It's just draw buildings in background, and he draws them well. They've all got real character to them, and they look clunky, which I really like. I like clunk. Clunk is good. And all the drawings of the characters, they're like loose and rubbery. I really like that. And he's got a good sense of black and white as well. There's like dots of black here and there, and then heavier uses of it in shadows and things. And he fucks with perspective. Like the perspective on this is insane. It's just ridiculous. Doesn't make any sense. But it's good. It works for the world of the comic. And he does loads of cool little, just cats and things and birds and bits of garbage and stuff. I like it a lot. It's about these 2 kids, one called Black and one called White. They're like street urchins, and they fight other gang kids. And then like some mafia people come in and try to take over the town, and they're like, this is our town. And then they get involved in this whole thing with the police are involved in the mafia and these kids, and it's a whole mess. And he smacks this guy over the head with a pole. Yeah, it's cool. It's pretty cool. But I just wanted to look through it again because I'm working on Gun Viking. I'm about halfway through. No, I am exactly halfway through the next issue of Gun Viking, and I keep feeling myself getting so bogged down in in the box of comics. Make sure it fits into comic book. So I tried to look at stuff like this to force myself to loosen up a bit and stop worrying about that shit so much and just loosey goosey, go with the flow. Fiddle-dee-dee. Tug on my penis. There's an elephant. I love these street scenes where it's just like cobbled together. Just draw buildings. That dog, in terms of professional comic book making, that's one of the worst dog drawings I've ever seen. But it's cool. It fits within the environment of this comic book. And also, props to the guy, because he fucking... However good or bad you draw, if you can put together this much of a comic book, then you're on to something, you know. And I love it that it doesn't look like typical manga or typical comic books. It's a person's drawings. They're not... I was going to say they're not the best drawings ever. They're brilliant drawings. They may not be considered like fucking academically the best drawings ever, but in terms of illustration and just drawing in general, they're really fucking good. Tells the story. This police guy smoking a cigarette, and he goes, whap, as he kicks the cigarette out of his mouth. Psh, the little cigarette flies up. We don't wag our tails for anybody. And then they're watching a fight. So they're watching a fight, and they're in the crowd. Meanwhile, Black is going through pickpocketing, stealing wallets and taking money out of people's pockets and shit. And they like sit on rooftops and stuff. And that's a whole vibe as well. Look at that, they're not even on a rooftop. They're chilling on top of a truck or a van while it's driving down the street. That's a really cool shot. So you see this and you're like, oh, they're just sat on a thing with the night sky, and he's drawn like chunky stars for the night sky and the moon with a face. And then you see they're on a van, and then the van's sort of driving away and they get smaller and smaller. Again, the perspective is just drawn in. It's not, measured out. That's a good line, isn't it? It's just drawn in. It's not measured out. Wow, God, I'm so good. Man, I'm so good at that. Those sorts of things. Did you see, I put in my Instagram stories, that I got 100, 100, 100, 100 on Wordle, which is what I was going for. I was like, once I got to a certain point of keeping 100% success on Wordle, because it shows you like your current win streak, how many games you've played, percentage won. And now I've got it. I've played 100, won 100, so my streak, it just says 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. I think that's brilliant. It's just a little thing I'm practicing. It's, a silly little word game, but I like word games, and I like that word game. And I'm fucking winning at that word game, so that's fucking cool. Love stuff like this. I used to draw these all the time in college. Street poles, telegraph poles and shit with all the boxes and wires hanging off. There was a couple of those outside where I lived. So I'd always take photos of those and then like Photoshop them to be in silhouette like this and like make stencils out of them and shit. All like teenage street art wannabe fucking shit. And this book's really good for that whole like, Tokyo overdeveloped city sort of vibe with all of this shit going on. Yeah, there's not really much else to say. Oh, is this the bit with his little... He's got his little dinky out. His little willy. Dinky. He's just... This little dick. Where they're in the bathhouse or whatever. Talking to the old homeless man. Gang members. Yakuza. Yeah, when I say mafia, it's obviously Japanese mafia, so it would be the Yakuza. Yakuza! Hey! Don't worry, be happy. In his own little world with happy animals and shit. That's communicated very well in the film as well. Definitely worth checking that out if you're curious about it. And they sleep in this old wrecked car. I love the scenes, the phone and the cat and the things going on and the... Really good, man. Really, really good. Really good, man. Really, really good. With this theme park that's being built. And the perspective on that, like, these look like they're about the same distance away, but this guy's huge and those people are really small. But it doesn't matter, does it? You draw what's necessary to portray the scene you're trying to portray, and everything else can just suck a dick. All the rules of draftsmanship and illustration and comic book making, they can all go do a fuck. The important bit is just fucking getting the drawings out there. Ears. Some guy got his ears cut off. One of their gang member friends. And then they go and get vengeance. It's quite a lot. It's pretty dense, you know, the story. There's a lot of characters, a lot of things going on. Lots of sort of like philosophical stuff about life and meaning and kids fighting and shit. Cracks a bottle around his face. Puh. Just beats him to death with his pole. Oh, I've done that to a few people. Whee! Beat a few girls to death with my pole, my massive meat bat. Go on, son, get in. I meant my penis because it's so massive. Oh, speaking of Gun Viking, would you like to look at Gun Viking so far? Issue 5. This is the latest page I just finished. I'll try not to get too much glare on the... I have to hold it at an angle. Should I zoom out slightly? Am I going to... Will that do? That'd do. This is the page I've just finished. Like, there's a cult around a tree and the thing. Right, so I cannot, because it's been quite a while since I last did a page and uploaded it and everything. I cannot remember the last time I showed it or what I showed, so I'm just going to show what I have currently of issue 5. Yeah. So that's the opening page. Gun Viking in his new evil Gun Viking helmet, just looking mean. And that's just going to be a full page. It's a very small painting, obviously, because there's no point in painting it massive. And then the next page is this, and it's going to be 1 year later. You know, it carries on straight after the issue 4, finishing with spoilers if you've not read it yet. Where he kills the big bad evil guy, blows his fucking head off, and then he sits upon his chair, his throne, with his helmet, and now he's the big bad evil guy. Oh my god. So from here it goes to there, and then 1 year later, and all these guys are like stealing bitches and everyone's running scared and they're burning down villages, and Gun Viking's there. Oh, all the guys laying on the floor, and they're pillaging, stealing all their gold and pearls and shit, carrying people in sacks. Gun Viking's there, watching over it all. Look at the lighting, wow. And then this is 2 years later. They're killing cattle, killing all these Highland cows. And then Gun Viking's getting in on the action. He's blasting people to pieces. Blood, and he's stabbing a guy through his sternum. They're all running after people, blood and stuff. He's got a knife and fork. He's happy. And then, just violence, blood-stained faces and knives, and Gun Viking shooting at people. At innocent people. What's he doing? He was a saviour. He was a hero. And now, this is 3 years later, he's like leading the charge of all these horrible marauders, heads on spikes and gnarly spikes and weapons and blood, and him leading it all, adorned with spikes and fur and skulls and shit. Really like that one. I'm really quite proud of this one. I on purpose made sure I spent a little bit of extra time to make that one pretty good, because that'll be a full page in the comic. That'll look pretty fucking good. And then this is like current day. This is all the background, and this is going to be black in the comic. Gun Viking just chilling, like not too sure what he's doing about. He's just pondering. Yeah, he's humming and ahhing, sort of contemplating the helmet and all it means and entails. And then there's a crow, car, and he's like, fuck. And then he's like, hey, what the fuck? I don't know if I needed to put both of those in there, but fuck it. And then this will all be black around the outside as well. And then there's Brumph as he comes through the door, and he's like, sire, we found it. And he goes, you have? And he's like, well, we I think he goes, you're sure? And he goes, I'm pretty sure. I mean, there's only one thing it could be. It has to be that. And he's like, show me. And then he gallops away on his spike-head horsey horse from the big mean castle from issue 4, wherever the fuck it is. From that place. See, it's the same place, yeah. He's galloping away, and then these guys are like, oh, what, so he's just gone then? And I'm like, I guess so. So what do we do? And he shrugs like, fucking whatevs. And then he's on his horse in the snowy wastelands, and then he's going through a swamp. Quite proud of this one. I like the water and the lighting and stuff. Taking his horsey through the swamp, and then galloping places, looking at his map, and then he sees this forest of dead trees, and he's looking at his map, and it says here that one tree with an arrow. They're looking for that one particular tree, and then he's running down the hill carrying his horsey on his shoulder. I just thought that would be funny to put in there. And then he's walking through the woods, and then he sees this green glow, and he's like, fuck is that? And he sees this. Oh my god, that may resemble that. See, it is. I realised because I drew this sort of from memory. I didn't reference the original drawing, so it's a bit different. But it's the same fucking thing, isn't it? See, it's like the same. The tubes and stuff. It's the. See, yes, it's the. And then. That's what you're seeing. This fucker hung up in a tree with all these voodoo shit around, little flowers and other skulls and things. And there's a cult dancing around. Look at the green glow. Really happy with that. And so they're all dancing around, singing their songs. And then suddenly she's like, and he's going like, sister, blah, 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 blah. What's wrong? And she just points, and he's like, And then he goes, no, it can't be. Because... safe to say he's going to see Gun Viking seeing them, and he's going to be like, oh my god. And this is the next page where he's like, oh my god, it can't be, it's him. And he comes up and he sees Gun Viking, and then he screams and yells some shit, but that's for another time. That page is ready to paint, and hopefully I'll have that done in the next couple of days, and it'll be something. This is my thumbnails sheet. So that's literally half done now. All those pages have just shown you, and these are really clear thumbnails of him seeing Gun Viking and being at him, and then being like yelling some shit, and then eat of his flesh, gunshot, gunshot, shocked faces, blam, 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 blam. This just 2 pages of gun-Viking shooting some shit, and then flashback, and then inspecting the tree, and then a whole bunch of shit, and then whoosh, and then flashback here, and then the question mark, flash forward maybe? I'm not quite sure if I'll have space to do that. But yeah, I'm excited to get it done. I'll hopefully have it done soon. Hopefully. Let's see how it goes. And there's something on the back I put here. I can't show this because that's where there. Oh, I just shown it. Last page. That's a note for me for what's going to be on the very last page of the gun-Viking comic. So I can't show you that. But I noted this down just because it's a funny idea I had for a comic. It's another one of my classic murder comics. So the comic is, you see, like this guy. He's just in a store or something, and then a girl comes up to him, and she's like, "Oh, hey, are you that artist that draws all those nudes?" And he's like, yeah. And then the girl says, "Oh my God, I'd love to model for you sometime." And then the next panel just focuses on his face, just like, what? And then the next panel focuses on her face, and she's smiling like, "I'd love to model for you." And then the next panel is her face again, but it's in like a news article, and it says, "Girl missing for 12 days, last seen in, art supply store," or whatever. See, because she was like excited to model for the artist, and then she probably got murdered by him. Oh, heavens. Heavens to Murgatroyd. Oh, mercy. Mercy me. Isn't that fucking hilarious? I'm just downing some more of this Red Bull energy drink to keep me going. Now it's gone 3 a.m. Well, it's a lot funnier than my last comic. I even drew that. I drew it and then I hid it under the pile of shit I've got on my desk here because I was almost ashamed of it. I wasn't happy with it. It's one of those things that's like, it's quite a fun, not hilarious. Like I even said at the time, okay, I know it's not hilarious. I'm going to show you some drawings I'm not proud of, which I don't usually do. So I tried to draw them like neater. I think they even look shit. As always happens, the rough version looks best. Just tried to draw it neat, and then pulls his tail back and it goes bang, and he's like, "Oh, surprised," and shit. And then he's like coughing up the shell. And now it's all drawn out. It's like, it's just kind of shit. They're not all winners, okay? I'm only too aware. Sometimes you hit it, sometimes you don't. Like your wife. See ya. Hit your wife because it's funny. Domestic abuse. We all love a bit of that. Violence against women. Ooh. See, the thing is, a certain kind of person, girls, well, not even all girls, just certain kinds of girls hate my murder drawings because of the violence against women and the boo boo boo. And the fact that they use the word hypersexualization, they need to fucking look at the meaning of that word, because my murder drawings are not remotely sexualized. There is no sexuality put into them on purpose. That's a conscious decision, conscious effort goes into not making them sexual. In almost all of them, the girls are wearing clothes. They've not been like stripped and fucked. There's no evidence of sex. It's all because the whole point is that it's not sexual murders that this guy is doing. It's murder for the sake of murder, or not even knowing why he's murdering. He just is some sort of weird compulsion. But it's sad. All of it. He's never happily, cutting girls up and bashing their heads in and removing the heads. He's sad and he's depressed and he's lonely. He's not enjoying doing this. He's just some weird, fucking awful, filthy, unfriendly compulsion to do it. And it's a sad, lonely life that he leads because he's a sad, sad, lonely individual. It's not glamorizing it. It's not glorifying it. It's showing it to be sad and miserable people that do these sorts of things. Not to say, oh, let them go. They're just sad and miserable. Just saying, it's pretty disgusting, isn't it? It's just filthy and sad and horrible. And that's the point. It's not about like, oh yeah, I'm gonna fucking kill them, fuck them, and eat them. There's none of that. So then, when people see, a dead girl half undressed or whatever, and they say, well, it's clearly over-sexual, hypersexual. They use the word hypersexualized, and it's like, no, fuck you. It's not even sexualized. You can, if you use the word sexualized, I'd still say you're wrong. But if you're using the word hypersexualized, you're incredibly wrong. And they try to, explain it away like, oh no, because of instances of this happening in real life and it's about sexuality and this. Fucking idiots. Shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. And oh, you're a sex worker and you know these sorts of things. I don't care. Look up the fucking definition of the word hypersexualized, you fuck. Because hypersexualized is such a specific thing. Like if you draw a girl, whatever. If you draw a girl in a bikini, that's whatever. If you draw a girl in a sexually suggestive position, that's sexualizing a girl. Or even if you draw a girl in a school uniform and the uniform's too small and she's, pulling the skirt up, that's sexualized. Hypersexualized is like that, but taken to an extreme, because it's fucking hyper means extreme. Let me Google what the word hyper means. I'm not going to Google hypersexualized because I already did that. It's the whole thing. Just hyper, Hyper. Hyperactive or unusually energetic. Surely there's other. It means to like make it big. Prefix. That's it. Hyper as a prefix. Above, beyond, super. There you go. Above, beyond, super. So it's like beyond sexualized. So if you sexualize something, if you show a schoolgirl being, all rude and sexualized, that's sexualized. If you show her to be hypersexualized, that's like giving her, if it's a schoolgirl, a drawing of like what would be, in this instance, like for instance, a 16-year-old schoolgirl, and you draw her in a skimpy uniform with huge tits, big puckered lips, really tight socks that squeeze her thighs, dripping from between her legs and shit. That's hypersexualized. That's like drawing her sexualized, but then going above sexualized, like hypersexualized. Me drawing a bunch of dead girls with socks and underwear still on and tops on, I very rarely even draw like bare tits, like in a couple of drawings, but I very rarely draw bare breasts or anything in these drawings, in my murder drawings. So to use the word hypersexualization is so wrong for that. And all that does, it makes me look bad. And, I'm drawing dead girls, so maybe I'm not brilliant, but even so, it's like to claim that I'm hypersexualizing girls in these drawings is so incorrect. And it bugs the shit out of me. Because I like words. And I think words are incredibly important because you can do so much with words. But when people use words just so incorrectly, you can blow things out of proportion so easily doing that. And you almost have to be careful. Like if you're going to use words, you've got a responsibility to use them properly. So if you're going to throw around a word like hypersexualized, you've got to fucking do it properly. And don't call shit hypersexualized when it absolutely is not. And that's like, you can say that's how I see the drawing. Well, I'm the one who drew the drawing and I'm telling you that's not how it is. That's the artist telling you this art is not made in that way whatsoever. If I was drawing, like Marge, my nude drawings of Marge are not even hypersexualized. They're just sexualized drawings of Marge because it's just naked Marge and that's all it is. It's taking a drawing of Marge and making it sexual. Or I consider them to be more sensual, actually. That's just my personal fucking thing. But then if I drew a version of Marge with huge tits, squirting milk everywhere, big pouty kissy lips, then that's like hypersexualized drawing of Marge. Not just a beheaded girl on a bed. What, because she's in bed, so that means they had sex? No, you fucking dink. You plum. You cunt. It's not hypersexualized at all, you fucking dumb bobo bumbo. Anyway, do you want to hear a funny, embarrassing story that I remembered? Completely not related to this whatsoever. It's a struggle being amazing at everything all of the time. See, in university, very early on in the first year, we had our first life drawing class, which is, just a thing that you do in university. The guy giving the class was a bit of an eccentric sort of artist type. But he was cool enough. We got on, it was whatever. And the class was fine. Draw the naked lady, whatever. Now, back then, I hadn't drawn as many nudes, anywhere close to as many nudes as I do now. But I had a history of, drawing hypersexualized Simpsons and things. I'd drawn many images of cartoon porn and those sorts of things. So when it came to drawing the body, I don't claim to be amazing, but I had it down. I was pretty good at it. I was good with muscles and such, that sort of thing. So the teacher, after the first couple of poses in the life drawing class, he goes around and he's looking at people's drawings, and then he stops at mine and he's like, oh, my God, man. And he's like being, sort of overly dramatic, over-sexualizing in a dramatic way. And then, see, this was embarrassing because it was in front of the entire class. He goes, oh, let me shake your hand. And he like grabs my hand with both of his. And he goes, this is incredible. He's like looking at my drawings because, I'm just fucking good. But it's drawing. It's literally what I do. So I have to be good. I have to be good. It has to be good. Otherwise I'm a failure and I may as well just fucking kill myself. It has to be good. Draws this shitty lizard. But yeah, so he goes, he starts talking about how brilliant it is and I've got such a good grasp of like light and shadow and form and this and that. And he shook my hand in front of the entire class. And, early in the year, when everyone's in a state of like, it's new and you're sort of trying to put across this impression of yourself and sort of, impress people where you can. Everyone's trying to like be the best imagined version of them they can be to put out there because they want to be perceived in a certain way by all of these new peers they've got. And of course I was doing that as well. But then this guy comes along, this teacher, and fucking shakes my hand in front of everyone, just saying, wow, look at Ewan's brilliant. And straight away I'm like, oh my God, no. Everyone's going to fucking hate me now. Because I know I'd be exactly the same. If I was anyone else in that class watching the teacher shake some random guy's hand, being like, you're incredible, you're clearly the best in the class, you're amazing, I'm going to shake your hand, I'm going to get on my knees and blow you right now, you're amazing, oh my God, get me pregnant, you would do it. If he was doing that to just someone else, I'd be looking at that someone else like, fuck you, you're not that good, oh, I can draw the body really well, fuck off. So I can only imagine what people were thinking when the teacher fucking shook my hand in front of everyone. I was so embarrassed, man. It felt good, because it's validation. Of course, I loved it in terms of the validation of like, see, I told you I was fucking best at this. Like my internal dialogue being like, yes, I'm fucking better than everyone. But sociologically or whatever, or just socially, I was just like, oh my God, no, this is horrible. Now I've got like a fucking target on my back. And I assume for that and several other reasons, I'm well aware of sort of how I was at university. And I was still dealing with a lot, even back then. And that was even before I had even conceived that past instances were the reason for how I was feeling and acting in certain ways. So trauma was affecting things then, trauma and depression and whatever else. But I didn't know that was a thing. I thought I just acted a bit weird sometimes. But yeah, I got a reputation for being seen as being quite pretentious, which you can probably understand. If I tell you that now, you're probably like, yeah, I can see that. And a couple of people even said that to me when I was hanging out at another student's house. It was like a drink and draw thing. Everyone was just hanging out, drinking and drawing or whatever. And I didn't really drink, but I was drawing and just hanging out, being funny, being affable, being personable. And this girl was like, she said to me, "You're really cool. You're funny, and your drawings are amazing." And honestly, when I first saw you, and listened to you talk and stuff, I thought you were so pretentious. Like right at the start of the first year, because I think this was in the second year or whatever. And she was like, "Yeah, during the first year, I thought you were so pretentious and fucking hated you." And I really respect her for saying that. And she said that I still think you're pretentious, but I'm okay with it because you sort of make it work. And I was okay with that. I was like, yeah, no, I'm cool with that because I can be incredibly pretentious. Especially when I get into my art student sort of vibe kind of thing, whatever. I can get a bit deep with it and get very pretentious about it, thinking I'm better than everybody else. So that was totally fair. And I really respected her for saying that. And for saying that, at least she tolerates me. She still thinks I'm pretentious, but she's like, yeah, she gets it. So that was a thing that happened. I don't know.